hello. First and foremost, sorry if you hear piano in the background. There's a practice going on, and I probably should have waited until that was done in order to record audio for this video, but it's kind of like inspiration. I hate saying that, but there's times where I don't feel like I want to talk about anything, let alone anything into a camera. And then there's times where it's like, well, I still don't want to do that, but I can handle it. Like, it's fine, I'll do it, whatever. And it's one of those moments where it's like, fine, whatever. On the bright side, I actually have my good camera here. I'm still just using the audio that comes with making a video or shooting video. It's not like the best audio. I know I should probably get a microphone or something, but I don't really see the point when what I have is workable and doesn't really seem to like matter anyway. So I have my camera set to video and I'm just kind of like hunched over talking at it. It looks pretty silly. It looks pretty silly. Anyway, I believe last week I touched on the idea of stopping making Oceanica stuff. And first of all, I never really took the time to discuss what Oceanica even meant. I'm pretty sure most of you can just use your brain cells and figure out that that's just the name of the playlist that these specific drawings have been going under. And that's just what they are, is they're just a bunch of drawings about grass being water and there being like little boats and lighthouses. And I just called it Oceanica because I couldn't think of a better word for like the collection of works that I was working on. So this is what I called it on my website, and that's what I call it here. Anyways, last week I touched on the idea of stopping making Oceanica drawings, and I've been working on this kind of small portfolio, this Oceanica portfolio, since about maybe March, I think, maybe even sooner than that. So it's been almost all of 2021 that I've been kind of looking at this, and that's quite a long time to be fixated upon one sort of idea. So I've been thinking about trying to branch out and try other stuff. You know, Dadaism, Surrealism, German Expressionism, like the colors and stuff like that with Kandinsky's work. And I'm still interested inside that, I'm still interested in that. However, today, something happened that kind of sparked my Oceanica obsession again. I've never mentioned it before, but I had a pet betta fish named Harvey. Throw some pictures in here as I'm talking about. A cute little guy. Throw some videos in. I had him from June 2020 through May 2021. Gosh, there's a car horn going off now. Great. Let's just make it so noisy that my video just sucks with sound. Anyway, his name was Harvey, and I super loved the little guy, you know. He was my little guy, he was my little friend. I fell in love with him and tried to do the best that I could, make his little life as wonderful as it could be. And when he died, I was heartbroken. He had like a tumor above his right eye, I believe. And I was changing his water, and that tumor or that cyst or whatever it was burst, and his eyeball went with it, and he died. And it was very tragic. I was holding him in the water because he was, you know, huffing and puffing and trying to breathe, and he just needed some air as well, because, you know, betta fish, they gulp in air too. So I was holding him in my hand when he shuddered, and then he died. It was really traumatic, and I did not get another fish after him, and I still don't have a fish after him because I just loved him so much. And he kind of sparked this idea of like betta fish being dragons and them flying through the sky, and then grass being water, and then my interest in boats came up. And, you know, now that I'm talking about it, I'm falling in love with the idea again. But anyways, today my sister and I went to a nature reserve. I'll throw a picture or two up of, I'll just throw up a picture of that. Very beautiful, even in winter. very beautiful. Lots of different kinds of birds, and we saw a hawk or two, and we saw some signs of a beaver or a few beavers, and we saw a blue heron. That was really pretty. It was really nice. And then we went to the Asian market that we have here, and I picked up some shiitake mushrooms, which is nice because I really like those. They're really, really good in coffee. If you get them dried and then you put them in coffee, they're really, really good because it kind of turns the coffee a little bit shiitake, and then the mushroom gets a little bit of the... It's amazing. If you've never tried putting mushrooms in your coffee, definitely do it. Hydrated mushrooms are the best, but I have a really hard time finding whole shiitake mushrooms here, so I had to get them dried. And that's fine, you know, whatever. I'll live. So we went to get some of those, and then we specifically went to a fish store. Before, when I was looking at fish and stuff, I would go to like PetSmart or Petco, and you see these poor betta fish in these tiny little cups. They come in these little cups, and they have nowhere to swim, and so they just kind of lie around all day, and it's really heartbreaking to see these poor fish in these little cups. They don't get to move or do anything. And, you know, they get sick sitting in those cups, or sometimes they come sick, you know, they come with cancer, or they come with an illness that progresses when you buy them, like fish or like fin rot or something like that. So it's very likely that when I got Harvey, he already had cancer, and it just developed the longer that I had him. In some of my videos, you'll see a background, you'll see a big rectangular painting on the wall that looks like it's completely black, but it's not. In the bottom left-hand corner, I have a painting of Harvey and his name there. And my idea is that I'm slowly going to fill up the whole picture with betta fish that I have, because I'm just fascinated with them. They're just so beautiful. I mean, it's kind of morbid to like, oh yeah, I'm gonna paint this picture, and then as my betta fish die and I get a new one, I'll paint that one on there too. It's a little morbid, I know, but it just brings me comfort. You know, sometimes I'll miss him or I'll think about him, and I can look over at the painting that I did of him, and I can just kind of smile and relax and be like, yeah, there he is. Anyway, but we went to this specific pet or fish store, and this specific fish store does saltwater fish. And we wanted to go to the aquarium, but we just didn't want to because it was the weekend, and so there'd be a lot of people there. So instead of going to the aquarium, we went to this specific saltwater fish store. And it was really, really cool to walk around and see all the beautiful fish, and see all like the blue tangs and all these beautiful live corals and puffer fish that was for sale, and you know, these fish that are upwards of $100 each. And the store was cool because it also had like used tanks, like It was a really, really cool store, and it had a couch that was full of fish pillows, and now I have to get a fish pillow. But near the front of the store, there was this little alcove that was all by itself, and it was really, really quiet. And you went in, and they had a bookcase, and on the bookcase were these nice, like 5-inch diameter, maybe 7-inch deep vases that had some rocks on the bottom and had betta fish in them. And it was so beautiful seeing all these betta fish. They didn't have any super fancy ones there. They just had like some, you know, the basic male betta fish that was like $4.99, and maybe like the male betta fish that had some little frills to its fins, and so it was $5.99, you know, the little cheapy ones. It was just so wonderful that they had their own little alcove, and they had their own little jars, and they weren't like the little cups that you get at the other pet stores, the chains. They had their own little vases that they could swim around and move around in. I fell in love with all of them that were there. This one specifically came up, and he put his face up to the glass and started opening and closing his mouth, and so I put my finger on the outside of the glass, and he turned around it, and he swirled around it, and he tried to bite it through the glass, and it was just so adorable, and my heart melted. And I really wanted to get him, but I have nowhere for a fish right now, and it's cold, and I don't want to bring a fish home and have it be cold, because this room that I'm in right now gets really cold in the winter time, and I don't want a fish to freeze to death. But at least I know where I'm gonna go if I do decide to get another fish. So I'm gonna go to this specific fish store, because I thought it was really amazing that they had their own little spaces that they could move in. Sure, they weren't like, you know, full-size tanks, but they're better than those tiny little cups where the only space they have is just to lie down on their side on the bottom and look dead, you know. And this one little curious fish, oh, he just melted my heart, and I was so tempted to bring him home, but I had nothing ready, and it would be unfair for him to come home to a place that wasn't ready for him. So we didn't get any, I didn't bring him home. I really wanted to. I really, really wanted to, because my heart just went out to this little guy. But seeing all these fish, and specifically the betta fish, kind of revamped my love of this Oceanica idea. You know, I saw them as these beautiful dragons again, and I saw all these wonderful ideas that I got just seeing these fish. For some reason, fish and ocean stuff really, really clings to my mind, you know. It's so fascinating. And the idea of grass being water, I don't know, it's just really fascinating to me. And I feel rejuvenated. Maybe some artists would say, you know, you've been on this project long enough, you really should move on, you know, you've been doing this for a long time, you're not really growing, da, da, da. But I think that if you're in love with an idea, it doesn't matter how long you spend with it, as long as you're still in love with it. And I think I'm still in love with this idea. I have this Kelpie thing that I'm doing now. And to be honest, I'm not in love with this drawing, but maybe I will be later, you know? So I'm gonna color as far into it as I can color into it, you know? And then maybe I'll have to put it aside. Maybe it's just not right for right now, or maybe it has a better way of manifesting in the future. But I'm gonna keep coloring on it and just see what happens. Anyway, that was pretty much all I have to really share with you guys. It's just my little story of wonder. I would love to go to the aquarium and see the fish. I specifically am in love with manta rays and stingrays. I call them flat fish, and I adore them. I really want to figure out how to make some and hang them from my ceiling in my room and have like a collection of them like kind of floating from one corner of the room to the door. And I have no idea how I'm gonna do that, and that's kind of something that's been playing on my mind. So maybe there'll be a video of that. I don't know. I'll have to see. But yeah, I just wanted to talk about my little excursion and my newfound wonder while I still felt like talking. Now I'm done with my story, so I'm going to leave. I'm going to, I think, water the plants. I don't remember when I watered them last, so that's a good indication that they should probably get watered again. And it's getting kind of late, so then I'm gonna go to bed. I'm gonna unpick some crochet stuff that I made because I ran out of yarn and I want to crochet. So I'm gonna take apart this thing and then I'm gonna remake it. I know that sounds really dumb and silly, but I really want to crochet something. I don't have yarn, so I'm just going to pick something apart that I've already made and I'm going to make it again. And that'll be great. Anyway, so that's what I plan to do tonight. I don't know what you guys are doing tonight, but whatever it is, I hope that it's good and I hope that you sleep well, and you'll hear from me again next week.